The Attitude Era has been glorified to mythical levels over the years. The WWE loves reminding us of its existence with the countless documentaries and a never-ending supply of best-of DVDs. But there have been more episodes of Monday Night Raw with the WWE than there ever had been with the F still intact. But if you scroll through any wrestling comment section, you will find tons of people who will attempt to throw hands if you even suggest that their $50 Stone Cold DVD isn't infinitely better than any episode of NXT 2.0. And believe me, I'm well aware that the WWE isn't exactly going through a renaissance right now. But even now, with smaller and smaller rosters performing in barely full arenas, I can confidently say that today's WWE product is better than anything they had produced during the Attitude Era. Now, before you leave your 3-paragraph comment about how SmackDown is unwatchable, calm down. This is not a video about the actual in-ring content. Instead of comparing the matches or promos or even the wrestlers themselves, we're going to talk about the most important aspect of wrestling, the one component that we take for granted that will make or break any show. Because you could book the best card in history, but if it's filmed on a shaky flip camera with little to no post-production work, it's gonna be unwatchable. Today's WWE production team is without question the best crew in wrestling history. Whether the show is good, bad, or awful, they will film it effortlessly and stick around to do the same for NXT 2.0. Sure, they have their flaws, like this thing they do. But nonetheless, they deliver on every show without fail. Now, before we talk about the Attitude Era, I just want to say that broadcasting a national television show on any level is no small task. Making the show happen at all takes an incredible amount of skill. But when you go back and actually watch any of those old shows, it becomes clear that they have come a long way since then. Because for starters, those shows were taped, meaning they were basically broadcasting on easy mode. You don't have to worry about making mistakes, you can just edit around them in post. And you know what? Let's go back to that Stone Cold DVD that Carl's so proud of. On that DVD, you'll find Stone Cold in a Caribbean strap match. Or to put it more accurately, you will find the second take of that Caribbean strap match. Due to the power going out, half the show was unable to air, so they had to redo it 2 days later. Just to emphasize the point, let me say that again. They had to redo an entire show. An embarrassment that huge just wouldn't happen today. WWE is a company to stress no excuses. And thunderstorms count as a lame excuse to not properly put on a show. And you know what? To their credit, in recent years, they have proven just that. On January 26, 2015, they still aired Monday Night Raw despite being in the middle of an historic snowstorm. All they had to do was move from Hartford to Stanford, and just like that, they had proved themselves better than whoever was in charge of In Your House 8 Beware of Dog. Then they outdid themselves by still having WrestleMania during a massive rainstorm, not once, but twice. And I'm not gonna even mention how they put up a full year of television as the world was ending. For real. WWE will not give any more excuses. Because back in the day, the Glory Attitude Era days, even when the show did air properly, the Federation left a lot of room for improvement. A good presentation should give you the illusion that you were in the arena. It should let you feel the excitement of the matches and make you yell at the wrestlers as if they could hear you. There are many methods to make this effect happen. The Attitude Era used none of them. Okay, and to be fair, it was the 90s. Cool skater boy camera angles were all the rage. But there is a reason that film style became so yesterday by the mid-2000s. It was cool, we had our fun, but now, if you try to revisit those matches, it'll just look sloppy and disorienting. I mean, just watch some old D-Generation X matches. Their original entrance is probably the hardest thing to physically watch. The entrance video is flashed into the actual entrance with fast cuts of X-rated content and weird camera filters thrown in seemingly at random. And that might sound super cool, but believe me, it is different than you remember. And I'm not even talking about nostalgia goggles or anything like that. It is literally a different entrance than one you're remembering. When DX came back in 2007, they toned down their entrance. A lot. Instead of having multiple cuts a second, they only used a few cutscenes and applied a simple X graphic over the screen. And that is the entrance you actually remember and look back fondly upon. And you know what? It's best to keep it that way. But to have all the Attitude Era's flaws, one outpowers them all. One thing that made the biggest wrestling company in the world look like a shady indie. The sound mixing. Every time the ring announcer starts introducing a wrestler to the ring, the commentators talk over them so the audience can't understand anything. And sure, Jim Ross was a good commentator. But let's not forget, he spent an entire pay-per-view complaining about how his mic wasn't working properly. And that was a work, meaning that they thought we'd be sports entertained by listening to technical incompetence. There's no doubt the Attitude Era had some of the best wrestlers of all time. That's why they still have their own page in WWE Shop. We still view them as mythical legends because that's exactly how they're presented to us in the present day in the modern broadcast. We still buy Austin 316 shirts because the modern broadcast only shows Stone Cold in carefully produced video packages that only contain 5 to 8 seconds of actual old footage, followed by 22 seconds of modern graphics. Anyone presented in that light will look like an untouchable legend. But in reality, 1998 Stone Cold is no different than any of the top stars of today. We will always be more fond of the past than we are the present. And that's unfortunate. We are so quick to forgive the many flaws of the Attitude Era. We ridicule modern episodes of Raw before they even air. It's important that we take time to appreciate the positive aspects of the show. Because sure, Austin Theory stealing an egg wasn't exactly riveting television. But at least the egg story had an ending, which is more than I can say about the suitcase going up at King of the Ring 1999. Today's wrestling isn't without its flaws, but it also includes many great aspects that we take for granted. The Attitude Era might seem great in hindsight, but it's never coming back. If we're going to be fans of this spectacle, we need to see the good in the awful, not the other way around. Because that is what wrestling is all about. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to subscribe, it really does mean a lot for a small channel like this. We not only cover what happens in the ring, we also discuss what's like being a part of the wrestling community. Because that is what Wrestling Informer is all about.